Are you ready?
Go for it. I don't know what he's doing.
All right, let's do it. Hey everybody, welcome to War Room Roundtable. We are here this week with Erik and Steve. We got Dean behind the camera over there. And we are just recapping this week on Christine Jarski and our meeting with her. I think it was really refreshing to listen to an outside perspective from the decorating side and from that interior home design. I think we talked to a lot of clients who are working in a brick and mortar, but she's actually going into people's houses every day, right? And she's actually trying to fulfill a vision for these clients. So she's taking that artist approach and turning that into a lucrative business. And I thought that was, a lot of fun to take a look at. But then again, her struggles are the same as all of ours, right?
I think her struggles are the same as every small business.
100%. Especially looking at, right, her speaking a lot about marketing and like what she's doing to help grow that pipeline, right? Where I think for us, it's always so important where we're always thinking outside the box of how can we grow the pipeline, right? For her, it's workshops, it's this, it's that.
I enjoyed talking with her because I identified with her, but I did what she's doing when I was 23 to like 29, 30. And if I'm not mistaken, she's from Idaho, correct? And moved here?
I believe so.
Fresh and doesn't know anybody. And that takes a lot of courage to come to a foreign place, to a different town, a different culture, different weather. And she's just so sweet and kind and upbeat and thoughtful that she's inviting when you talk with her. So in that regard, I respected her because she's shy. We're all shy to a certain degree. I am, but I'm very talkative.
She's a smart, quick-witted lady.
And learning about her having a political science degree, she worked in, I think, I want to say civics. She worked for, I think, a public entity for a while.
Something like that. In a prior life.
Yeah. And just. She's now getting to learn or to use her artistic abilities, and she wants to be in business for herself. So I just really was impressed with her backbone, her integrity, her stick-to-itiveness, and she just seemed to be very upbeat. But we also know that that's all masked, with a lot of fear and being scared, and your back's against the wall, and you don't really know anybody. And so she needs. She's really looking for a community,
Correct. And
I
think she's doing it in the right way, right? When you're saying, I'm going to go ahead and check on how do I market myself in the right way, which is half networking, right? And then half exposure. And so by doing these workshops, by thinking of like doing her own line in the future, she's really setting up not just like a 1 year, 5 year, but like a 10-year goal of really and that's how you do it, right? You got to have a long-term goal, and how do you have the steps to get you there? And so I think at least she's thinking through that, where a lot of us get so consumed with the right now and how are we going to make it through right now, we forget to think about what is our 5 year, 10 year, and is what we're doing right now fitting into that vision.
Yeah.
And for me, it's interesting, the line of work that she's in with respect to, I'm sure there's commercial business opportunities with offices and helping redesign offices, but the fact that she's into the residential homes and the design, where we are as an economy with new homes being built, there are so many businesses that we work with that are in residential remodeling and residential home construction. Affordable housing is a big conversation in our community here, and there isn't as much new home developments being built today than there were, say, 5-6 years ago, or even 10 years ago. And where her business is in Washington County, on the west side of our region, there are a lot of new construction that is maybe on their 10th year and 15th year. Ergo, what I'm saying is that she's got an interesting opportunity to be able to talk to a lot of homeowners that are now going to be needing not just new roofs, but they're going to want to redesign their kitchens. They're going to want to redesign their homes, and that's why we see the Home Depots and the Lowe's and those big box home retail stores. people are spending money in their homes. They're staying more in their homes. They're investing in wanting to redesign it. And I've been in a home for 25 years, and I'm going to need some redesign. So I do see, and I bought it new construction, so I'm excited for
Well, I think
Christine.
of her. I think of like
It's an opportunity.
She's doing the right thing by trying to market to that higher end clientele, where she can do her artistic thought processes and not order things that you could get at Home Depot, right? And stuff that is one of a kind, handmade, those type of things that you really want to have that personal touch to your home. And so she does find, and I think that a lot of us find that too, is that if we can get in with that one really good client, the hope is that they will introduce us to all of their friends, right? So that their friends, because those are the hopefully type of clients that we want, will then align us, and that we can grow with that same type of clientele. So I think she's doing a good job in that, but that's a slow burn, right? You're talking about a marketing that is organic versus something that she's out there pushing in her social media and other things that she's doing.
But also partnering with contractors,
Yep.
Handymen,
Home inspectors.
These artists.
home inspectors,
Yeah.
you know, and people that are in the homes and seeing and talking to people and saying, "Oh, I really love your kitchen. You know, have you thought about X, Y, Z?" And you know, that type of
Right.
referral
Doing your
group.
workshop with realtors, not doing your workshop with interior designer artists, because the realtors are the people who are getting the people into the home.
Yep.
So obviously that makes the most sense for you getting a really good referral from somebody who just wanted to move into their home and wants to renovate it. Like
Right.
that, right? So she is thinking in those smart lines of networking, like we say all the time, right? Rich people, right, don't sell, they network. Right? So
Last week, two weeks ago, I had a referral from a colleague of ours, Mortgage Mindy, and she's an executive with Union Home Mortgage, and her husband he's a part of a family business called Inspect Tech West. Forgive me if I got the name wrong, but I hope that's the right name. And we met in their home. So she preferred her husband, met in their home, and she said, "Oh, you know, let me show you the place." And she proceeded to show me that it's a daylight basement, second floor. They retooled it. They bought it. They didn't even know that there was a fireplace behind the walls. They tore it all down. They're getting it all it's beautiful. But their plan is, and in like 5 years or whenever, I think when their son moves out, I think she said it'll be an Airbnb rental, and then they're gonna, like, you know, and it's 3,000 square foot house or 3,000 square foot. I don't know. I think it's got 3 acres in the back or whatever. She's redeveloping and redesigning the house with the idea for an investment plan down the line, and everything is being done in the way that she wants it. And so, like, she'd want to work with Christine. She'd want to work with somebody and that's a referral for her. Now that I think about it,
yeah, or even having like people like, you know, Huckabee Remodeling, where he's taking on these like multi-million-dollar homes, and the idea isn't to completely renovate it and make it modern, right?
Yeah, we know people that do that.
The idea is to bring out the beauty of that house that's over 100 years old, right?
With the right fixtures.
Yeah,
and the
so
right,
he goes in there, and yes, where the flooring needs to be done, he can, but anywhere that like he could keep those original floorings from the 1920s, he has, where he can keep the old weird little shutters and like the cute little window bays and the little spots and the, you know, all the little things that we as modern homes don't have anymore, all those cute little quirkinesses, right? And keeping those, but then modernizing everything else so that the home is now definitely worth the $2 million. But when you sit in it, you can feel that old world and that comfort and that coziness, right? And that niceness. So it's then how does she take that and just expand on it? And I think that you're right. Having those good referral partners is what saves you long term, right? And how do we all do that? How do we find those good referral partners that are going to help really bring us the clientele that we want to grow our business the way that we want it?
We also have to look at, you know, as a small business owner, she has the same problems as everybody else. Not only marketing, but also bookkeeping, and if she has employees, HR, and, you know, security, and you have a website that you may sell products on, and how to secure that website so it doesn't get hacked and you are financially liable for
or steal your client's
information and financially liable. You know, there's a lot behind it, and she talked about having a storefront. That even brings more complexity into cybersecurity, IT needs, expands the bookkeeping, the employees, the data entry side. So, I mean, there's a lot there.
Yeah, it's not just the vision of wanting to sell wallpaper, right? It's how do I sell wallpaper on a mass scale and protect myself for growth long term, right? Because if you have a bunch of people ordering and then, like you said, to your term, your website gets hacked or the whole thing gets shut down and you can't send out orders, what happens?
AWS yesterday,
Yeah, exactly. On top
Nothing
of all
works.
the other things that could possibly happen with that, right? Getting your merchant account locked out, right? And we all know if we're business owners that have a merchant account, like there is nothing worse in the world than getting locked out of your merchant account. Like you are literally dead in the water at that point, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of other merchant accounts won't take you, right? If you don't have good standing, period, right? Like your merchant account is just like your bank account. Like you got to be in good standing. You can't just be like writing bad checks all over the place because they will kick you out and you won't be able to get your money anymore. So, and there is that thought process on top of the how do you sell that and make it functional for people, right? Like I have a client that's all she does is sell custom wallpaper design. That's all she does. And the complexities that come into that are actually a lot more than you would think because she has an online, right? But not only does she have the wallpaper that you can buy, you can actually custom make your own wallpaper, which is super cool because you can make your wallpaper however you want. It's really, really cool. But then there's all kinds of tax implications that come into that because when she's shipping those things, right, then those taxes are now due in those states that she's shipping them to. So every time she has a new state, every time she has a new this, every time, right, you're talking about a complexity that is exponentially growing on not just a bookkeeping scale, but on a legal scale to make sure that you're staying compliant so that you can continue to do those things so you don't get locked out.
Right, with the state.
And cost into that and everything and managing that. Like paying sales taxes to 50 states is not easy every month.
No.
You know what I mean? So
Paying taxes
and making sure it's
in one
correct
state
and
is
making
hard.
sure it's right and making sure it's divided properly and making sure all the income comes through and making sure federally that comes through, right? On top of being compliant and making sure your stuff doesn't get stolen. On top of making sure that your employees get paid every day. So it's a lot more than just I have a vision. It's how do we make these visions happen, but better yet, how do we surround ourselves with people who are going to help us grow that in a way that we want. We need really good clientele so that we can make good money, and we need good referral partners who will help us, right? In her case, she needs a good bookkeeper. She needs a good website marketer, right? Developer. She needs a good web design that can process all of that stuff and grow with her exponentially as she grows. Like, yeah, sure, it might all be fun to put on Wix right now, but that's not going to be fun a year from now.
And she wants to grow. I mean, part of the idea of having a storefront, I immediately thought of that. It's vanity. We all want to grow. We want to have an office. We want to have something that has our building there.
Office.
Well, but in a way, with the physical plant kind of somehow validates that it's real
to people, yes.
And
the brick and mortar very American signifies.
That's what I mean. And,
sure.
and for her though, I immediately switched out of that and thought, no, it's more about a design studio. It's the ability for people to come in and to maybe see her designs, or that she can get out on a butcher paper.
See, I almost
draw something from the beginning.
I almost see it being more of like, I understand she wants a storefront where you can walk in and you can see all those things, but wouldn't it be cooler to like partner with a consignment store and have a section of a consignment store that you rent out and you put it together and then that's your pieces and then people can see, like, the people are walking through consignment stores all day long or whatever, right? Like there's a way to do it without having to get that brick and mortar and putting up that whole front, right?
Good idea.
How do we think about the in-between between the vision and the reality? How do we do the goals to get in the steps to get us there?
As a franchisee that she is, I have to believe that she could be involved in some internal franchise group that inspires them.
Always
with
depends on the
unique
franchise.
designs.
Sure. Some of them have really good in groups that
True.
get together and really help each other grow, and some of them don't have that. And I would always encourage people that if you're in that type of situation, whether it's a franchise or whether it's a corporation, to reach out to your others in corporations. I did that when I was a director of sales. I worked for a very large corporation that didn't focus on hospitality, and hospitality was becoming very quickly one of the largest revenue streams that they had. right? And so they suddenly had to start to shift to think about, how do we market, how do we take care of these hospitality people, right? How do we sell these weddings and do all these things for all these millions of dollars? Like, this is really cool. But there was no interconnectivity between a whole, not just nationwide, but international wide group of sales and marketing directors for hospitality. And so putting that together and forming that for that group was not just beneficial for me as a director of sales, but it's something that they continue to use now as a way to talk about, these sales strategies work in my area, this is why they work.
Right.
They may not work in your area,
right.
but these are the things that work for us, and this is why it works, right? And some of those things can be adapted and some of those things can't, but if you're living on an island and you don't have the resources and you don't have the people.
For example, I won't name names, but internally in my company, I have a fellow that is in Atlanta, Georgia, and I say to him, gosh, you sure talk a lot about healthcare. I do payroll, HR, and workers' comp.
You sure talk a lot about payroll.
And I say, gosh, you sure talk a lot about benefits. You really, know a lot about benefits. And he said, hey, over here in Georgia, he said they don't care. They'll fire somebody on the spot. They don't give a heck about, HR regulations like they do in Oregon. They want to talk about benefits. And he says, so they can get away with HR murder here. He says they're more worried about benefits. So you are,
but you're talking about laws in the South versus laws on the West Coast, right? Which are completely different.
And Oregon, Washington, California are employee-friendly states. They're more advocating for employees, and employers are evil profit mongers that are, just not taking care of employees.
Deductions, we sure are.
And so I just think with Christine's ability to be as large as she can as she's growing, she needs help like all of them do, and she's going to start growing, and she's going to want. I've had these conversations with her where she says, I hope it's aspirational. I want to have a storefront. I sure hope I can have employees, and then once you get them, now you're so busy. It's
trying to pay them.
You're trying to keep up with them in the 50 different states and all the different things. Administrivia takes over, and now you're not doing business development, and that client you think is going to be with you for some time, and it's sucking up 40% of your overhead and your cost and everything, and then that client goes away, and you haven't been really working to replace that employer, you're that client. So you have to always be marketing constantly, and when you're not, it's a lost day. You have to be growing.
I liked what you said about at the end of the day, she always spends an hour in doing a marketing activity. I thought that was really insightful because, I look at it and I'm like, do I do an hour? Well, no, I do like 2 hours a week.
Here,
there. It's not really consistent, and it sounded like she was very consistent about that hour every day.
Good point.
And so I think that benefits her a lot is her ability to be consistent.
Well, I think that goes for any of us, right? I think that we all forget as business owners to take the hour out of the day or the 2 hours out of the week and have some education or have some downtime, right? There's things that
Downtime?
I know, right?
What?
Take a break, go for a walk. What?
I don't know what you're talking about.
We all started in the beginning with nothing, right? We had no clients, we had no resources. We had to decide, how are we going to do that, right? How are we going to gain our clients? How are we going to gain our, and 99% of that came through education. Usually us looking for some kind of education on how to do that, and then deciding to go out and do that marketing in whatever way that we decided was educationally right for us. And so if we forget to continue to grow educationally, if we forget to continue to network all of the time, I think our pipeline does dwindle. I think that that's where we start to really notice that, at least for me, that's what I notice. I notice that my pipeline grows the more I network. Doesn't mean I necessarily get ROI off it. It just means the more time I spend networking, the faster my ROI develops.
I had a global travel agency that was referred to me by another global travel agent, friend of ours, Jubilee Slivkoff, and they're working with a big national payroll provider. And I said, I said to them, hey, now I can't remember the exact comment, but I said, have you thought about expanding your relationship with them? And she said, I want nothing to do with them. I want nothing to do with them. I want to grow. I don't want to work with them. I don't want anything to do with them. And they don't have any connection with that company. They don't have anybody that they can kind of call on. And I actually interviewed with that company because I've been trained to think they're the enemy. Sorry, I keep kicking you. I went out and interviewed with them, and the person sat there and interviewed with me, and she said, "What do you?" I told the travel agency this. I said, "What do you think about?" She asked me, "What do you think about networking?" And I said, "I think it's important. It's good to build, community, givers gain, and leverage." And she said, "We think it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. And you know what we need you to do? We need you to call this many people a day, blah, 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 blah." And this was 7 years ago. And so I dialed it back to, this is kind of where their problem is. They burn people out. They don't want to build relationships. I understand you don't want to see people.
And is that the type of company that you want to work for?
Yeah,
right?
and I understand the premise of, just you're sitting around and you're chatting and you're networking. Are you really doing anything? Yeah. Yes, if you're doing it right and you're being productive, you're doing something.
Well, it's about
not a waste of time.
There has to be a method to the madness, right? We talk about that all the time. Like, that's why certain groups work, right? Is because, like they say all the time, people forget about you every 7 days. So if you're meeting with somebody every 7 days and you're reminding them, you're just naturally going to come top of their list. Or when I was a director of sales, I will tell you right now to this day, I do not remember the name of the bagel guy, but I do remember his business. And I referred to him all the time. You know why? Because once a month he brought me and my staff, my entire staff, bagels. Right? Does it seem like, well, it's not a lot, but it's enough. Like, that every single month I thought about him enough to when it came time to refer, he was the top of my list. Is, oh, you really want to use that bagel guy? He's the best. And it wasn't necessarily because he was the best. It was because he was consistent on following up with me and my needs of my client.
Relationships matter.
The
They
relationship matters.
And that's what I mean. Yeah. So I
think it's so important that we think about that all the time. I think she does a great job of doing that, even though it's, it can be very hard and scary.
I do have enough friends. I have plenty of friends.
I don't believe you.
But I do want to have relationships where they know, I know where I can find him. I know he's there. I know he cares.
I don't have a lot of friends, but I have some great business relationships.
We don't need to be best friends. I'm not saying that, but they, when I'm working with somebody, they should feel comfortable calling me after hours or on the weekends. Like we're the business that I do with people, payroll, HR, workers' comp, it's not 8 to 5.
Well, see, that's where I feel like I do. I feel like it is. I feel
so
that...
you can connect with me on that level.
I feel that my friends know not to bother me about work on a Sunday at 8 o'clock at night, dude. Like, if you're my friend, like, I don't want to talk about work at 8 o'clock on a Sunday. I just don't give a flying F.
Correct. But if we use rhetoric such as we're partners in performance, we're all this,
Monday through
cliche
Thursday,
nonsense.
9 to 5.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying I'm giving anybody the liberty to contact me
Thursday.
24/7. But on the other hand, we are 24/7 business. I mean, this
No.
work-life balance thing,
I
I don't
am
know what I
not
really
a
believe about it.
24-hour business.
I'm not expecting that out of you. I'm just saying that when you need to reach
Absolutely
me,
not.
you
But I think, it's that thought, and I think that that's amazing that you can do that. But I think that is what brings burnout, right? Is that
it's extraordinary when they do call. It's not often, but when they do, it does
But
matter.
I also think that people that have respect for you and respect for your business would not do that, because there's a respect issue that happens that you have, and you want to form, at least I do, I want my clientele to have the same respect for me that I would have for them. Right? And I want to know that he can enjoy his Sunday with his family, unless, of course, my computer blows up or something like that. But do I really need to be using my computer on a Sunday at 8 p.m.? Can it really wait until 7 a.m. on a Monday? It probably can.
Now, to clarify, to be as acutely succinct as I can.
If I was a brick and mortar, it might be different.
I am encouraging people who I work with that if they need to reach me anytime they want, they can contact me. I, on the other hand, am not looking to reach out to them on Saturdays and Sundays or after 5 p.m. or trying to get a hold of them because, gosh darn it, people like me and I love business. No.
That's right.
But I'm the reciprocity is more, you can call me. I respect
So Eric
that
won't
time.
call you, but you can call him.
Yeah, no, I won't call you, but you can call me. Yeah, I won't be in your hair after hours and on the weekends. But
So let's wrap this up with what do you think she's doing well, and what do you think needs improvement?
I think that she's getting a really good key on her organic marketing, right? And I always say all the time, the key to a very successful business is organic marketing, right? You've got to be able to grow yourself in an organic way. So I think that she does that well. I think that where she struggles and where she's going to continue to struggle is to find her niche, right? She has being part of a franchise, she has a very small demographic area in which she can really promote herself in. And so it's how does she make the best out of that very small area to continue to grow her pipeline, right? To the point where it doesn't die out or she becomes so saturated in that area. So I think that's going to be that constant thought process of like, how do you grow when your demographic is this big?
Okay.
Not that it's not possible, it definitely is. There's more than enough people in that demographic.
My observations are the same, particularly with her Coffee with Christine campaign. She's being creative in trying to find marketing channels that she can build around, and maybe Coffee with Christine could even become a podcast. Who knows? I mean, that's what people are doing, and but I constructively critical that how often is she, is she staying with, say, a Coffee with Christine, and it's become a chore, and she's having a hard time finding people. Is it working? Does she need to mix it up? So I think with her,
like, how does that reflect ROI?
Yeah, on her ROI, on her time, but I'm inspired by people that are in networking groups that then, like the group within a group, they can then they can participate in a B2B roundtable on a nationwide level. So she could be spending a couple hours a week just doing networking, like that, either through joining a networking group or through the chamber, anything that's going to be able to help her gain leverage and be larger than she really is. She needs to be looking, bigger than she really is, in that regard from a marketing standpoint.
What do you think, Steve?
So I think consistency. Consistency is key with marketing. I liked your idea about the chamber. I think there's a lot of avenues that she can do that basically that she could have to increase her marketing and increase your dollar. So, I applaud her for her marketing efforts because I know it's hard.
Super Designer of the Year in Hillsborough, was not the Super Designer of the Year award? That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really exciting. I still talk about my grandma Swanson was Miss Pocatello. And I don't even remember what the years are. I mean, this
all
is
I
great.
All I hear is Golden Girls right now.
Yeah.
That's about what I hear too.
But you gotta have eyes are popping from behind the scenes here, folks. But you gotta have something to hang your hat on. That's adorable. I mean, I think that's really good. You're laughing. That's the point.
Well, I think that yes, it's good, but then we're always taking that to the next level.
She's
right?
out there.
We might feel that we won an award today, but then how are we going to win it next year, and how are we going to do it better next year? And I think that as business owners, we're always pushing that, right? And so I think that for her, it's going to be how does she continue to grow that and stay on that. And I think that she's going to be successful as long as she keeps to what she believes in and like what you've got to stay true to yourself. And I think as long as she does that, she's going to be great.
Yeah,
so.
I would agree.
I'm comfortable rapping on that. That's beautiful.
Oh, and with that, Erik says we can wrap. So thank you so much for joining us at War Room Roundtable. Make sure to follow us at all the places you watch podcasts, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.